Uh, Hello. Yeah, I don't have very good recording software, but I just wanted to make a video talking about this new YouTuber named Voss and how you saw how Hunter Avalon he's not at all factual about anything. I mean, a lot of his stuff he talks about is really has no he has no data that correlates with anything he says. I mean, he's complaining about Ben Shapiro not bringing up touching on facts or anything like that. But Ben Shapiro was talking about oil, talking about the oil prices and dipping, and they're having a surplus of oil. Voss doesn't understand the politics that go with oil, or any of the industry or any of the businesses. I mean, it's a lot of he's not the only one out there. Vegan Gains is another person who doesn't understand the effects of certain things. Like if we completely cut out, I'm just trying to go on another tangent, but if we completely cut out, the meat industry and everything like that, that's not going to help animals at all. In fact, animals are going to live worse lives. If you look at India, where cows aren't allowed to be killed and pigs aren't allowed to be killed, stuff like that, you have these wild animals, throughout the city starving, and you can see the rib cage. It's really, really sad and disgusting. Um, but that was just one thing. Pretty much, these animals will have to go into extinction, or they'll just be limited to zoos. I mean, either way, it's not a very good life for these domesticated animals. And, anyways, I wanted to talk about Vosh though. This dude, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand. This is why college is outdated, and why kids shouldn't go straight into college, and why it's really disgusting how our scholarship system works and how everything works and how our schools are meant. They tell kids to go into college, but kids don't understand exactly what college is. They don't know that it's not really. It's not. They think it's an extension of school, but it really isn't. It's more of a corporate business type of thing. I mean, when you go and you're trying to learn a skill to do a job, you should learn exactly what you need to do for that job. College does not teach that at all, and that's why we get people like Vosh. People who've been to college, probably didn't do well because college is really meant for you to fail. It's not meant for you to succeed. They make more money if you fail and you get a useless degree, or you just don't pass, the curriculum at all, than if you do. It's just, you know, first of all, if you look at the workforce and you actually go to these job sectors, they have so many open jobs. Like it's ridiculous. But most of the time, if you try applying and you're just a young kid, you won't get any of those jobs. Why is that? They want to hire in-house people who with experience, and it's really really disgusting. But pretty much the way that it is, you're not going to get a job at all. Pretty much retail, everything is all in-house. So the job market is very crooked. There are so many openings for jobs, but these corporations and businesses, you know, they actually make more money by having these factories and be low staffed. And it's not just about demand because we actually, the United States is actually not really a fully capitalized, capitalist country like people think it is. I mean, it's better than Europe, but at the same time, it's like a lot of these big corporations, talking about, Dow Jones and all that, they're pretty much living off of government subsidies. And that's why, corporations, you wonder, like, how are they getting tax credits? Because they're pretty much subsidized by the government. So they don't have to worry about actually making a profit. If they actually had to worry about making a profit and anyone could start a business in anything, the world would be a lot different. You wouldn't have to worry about a job. And speaking of jobs, we have to talk about this coronavirus thing. Yeah, it's essentially the flu. So it's pretty much it's not. It's only fatal to people who are old. It's only fatal to people who are chronically ill. And if someone dies of a heart attack, they're going to blame it on coronavirus, if they had coronavirus, which I think is very, very insincere and disingenuous. A lot of the stuff that uh, these people are harping on, and especially, and it's not even about just the real sad thing is we only have you know Republican and Democrat, and not that's not how it should be, because if you one side is clearly and blatantly wrong like it is now, then you're forced to have to agree with everything the other side does, Really what that does is it creates like a total totalitarian relationship. And the reason this is allowed to exist because you have a lot of loyal fans. They're not real, citizens. You have people living off of subsidies, living in low income housing, and people not making any money. Like you have people who are all, not even welfare. It's just you have a lot of subsidies, like or gas and everything, and that leads to these problems. That's why gas is so low. What happened with the gas market happened because these government subsidies comes in, and then these regulations, and then these loopholes that these politically active corporations come and they put they want only a certain way. This is all unscripted, but Vauch doesn't understand that, and that's what really disturbs me about his popularity. You have a bunch of people like, oh yeah, conservatives are calling people soy boys and this and that, and AOC is amazing. Like AOC's Green Deal is terribly bad, and I don't honestly think she doesn't really believe in it. I think, this is something that the corporations are pushing. Half of the money goes to identity politics corporations. You look at our entertainment industry, the Hollywood's all behind the Democratic Party. And the Democratic Party hasn't changed. People are like, oh, well, it's not the same. The same KKK type of party that the Democrat Party was, it still is. I mean, I'm sorry, it's just the same. They want everyone to be stereotyped and fill a certain bubble. And a lot of people agree with that and say, oh, well, that's just part of society. And you can look at countries that have these type of governments and, eventually, without allowing diversity of thought, you're pretty much limiting yourself in a whole lot of ways. That's why a country like India has stagnated and really not developed into anything like it should have because they don't have a diversity of thought. And these people don't understand that. They have been living off of so much success that they don't understand the reality of the situation, the reality of the real world. It's like if you're not, if you don't have good infrastructure, if you're not constantly challenging yourself, you're not going to develop anything. They look at engineering, and this engineering is a dying field. I mean, it still exists, but not everyone's just because you're good at math doesn't mean you can be a good engineer. It's the only way you can really make money off engineering is the corporate side of it, because being a small business, you have so many, you need to hire this program, you need to hire that, then you have so much competition, and you have people like Facebook and Google in control of they pretty much have a monopoly over these sectors. But the government and the laws have not advanced and caught up with this. There are a lot of things that fall behind when it comes to tech, and that's really hurting the economy because a lot of jobs are tied up in that, and there's no competition. So you cannot create more jobs in these sectors. It's also it's just pretty pathetic, in my opinion, that Vauch is he's talking about semantics, talking about conservatives and this and that, but this talking about people going by their feelings. But a lot of his stuff is not it doesn't have any correlation. It's just incoherent, kind of like how I'm talking now, but it's incoherent, and people are still going to you have everyday kids who haven't had a job who are gonna probably go to college because they don't know what to do. They're trying to get a job. A lot of them are going to fail because they're going to be taking so many classes that they really didn't need. Like, you don't need, if you're going into engineering, you shouldn't have to be taking, history or some kind of class that's not going to help you get your job. College should be focused on the individual. Like, they're trying to get this job, they're trying to get this done. A lot of that is not going to happen. So, what is the alternative to college? Well, here it is. There's trade schools. You can become a technician, mechanic. There's factory jobs. You can become a forklift operator. Become a truck driver. There's so many, other jobs in other sectors that you can get into. And that's really the only way you're going to make money, because if you don't have like a factory job or a trade, you're not making money, because unfortunately, these markets depend on these people. Anything that's, that's dependent on college, like with ideas and stuff, I mean, unless it's, accounting or some kind of STEM field, it's not really going to be required. And that's where a lot of people get wrong. Then you have retail and journalism, which is by far the most disgusting, in the industry, because journalism is all it's pretty much just, it's a fraternity. A lot of things in life are fraternities, and we shouldn't let our industry become fraternities. That's the scariest thing, because you're not going to have diversity of thought. Um, when you have this kind of factionalism and partisanship, it leads to nothing productive. And that's the biggest problem with our entertainment industry or journalism, is they're just monopolized, and it's just awful. Look at the BBC. Do you know at one point in time the BBC were considered the most unbiased news source? That the Nazis during World War II were using their radios for accurate information, because they weren't getting any accurate information from their own people. That's the point we're at in the BBC. They're subsidized by the government, and they're pushing these political narratives and crap in Doctor Who. Just to show it's just entertainment. No one's going to care, but at the same time, it's just disgusting what they're doing. They're not operating, in the real world. These kind of political, these ideologies and identities, it's not real world. It's not conducive to anything. Saying that someone can be a million different genders is not conducive to anything. Anyone can just scream nonsense, but really, what are the facts, and how do we get the facts? Well, that also has changed, because a lot of the funding that goes into these studies for psychology and all these other fields, they're funded by political active corporations. And if you don't come back with what they want you to come back with, then they're not going to fund you. So you're screwed again. All your studies are going to be biased. What kind of crap is that? Come on. That's how out of control lobbying has gotten. If you don't come back with, something that shows that homosexuality is by birth, something that is instilled, come on, something like that, sexuality. Sexuality, first of all, it's a lot more complicated, I think, than what these people are putting it as. These people are being ridiculous. It's first of all, you can't put things in a bubble like that. They want to stereotype and put everything in a bubble. That's why we've had more racism, more sexism, more all of that, because in the last since 2016 than ever in the 21st century. It's ridiculous. Because these people realize that by playing the victim and taking advantage of affirmative action, they can actually get people who are unqualified to do a job into that position. And I'm not saying this happens all the time. Are there jobs where, they definitely, don't choose people? Yes, there are. Usually military and, other corporate jobs. Yes, there are. But at the same time, there should always be a way to compete against that. There should always be competition. And that's the biggest problem in America, is that we don't have enough competition. And if you want to socialize everything and make everything socialist, you're just screwing up everything. You're making it worse. You're making the problems that we already have much worse, because you're getting rid of more and more competition that creates more and more stagnation, less diversity of thought. You have more fraternized and cronyism, more loss of industry. You're losing so many entrepreneurs, so many potential people. As they go to college, they get discouraged. Then they don't have really much to do, so they go to their mom's house, or something, and they don't have a job. And they're like trying to figure out how to get a job. And I used to be one of those people, now with the trucking industry, that's a really good, sector to get into. Really good jobs you can get from that, you can get a really good paying job in the trucking industry. But it's just sad that, people don't understand, that they advocate for socialism. They say it works. It does not work in Europe. Europe is living off of money they have gained from the last 5 or 6 centuries that pretty much comes from colonialism. But Europe has cut off all their colonies, so they're only going to go down. The only difference is UK is not a part of Europe. Okay, they're completely different. That's why they left the European Union, because their country is a lot more capitalistic than any of the other countries. Plus they still have Northern Ireland. They still have a lot of resources. They have a lot of companies that own a lot of stuff in Africa. They're quite versatile. They still have a lot of resources. Germany, they live off their automotive industry. You don't want to become like Europe. Sweden is even worse. It's just IKEA and they also live off of a few automotive stuff too. But they're going to keep going down and down because they have to have all their cars be German. They have to have all their cars be all their stuff be Swedish, and then they still can't have enough jobs for people. So then they have to give people, welfare and this and that. Then they take the money from the European Union and the European Bank. And the European Bank is back, with the Rothschilds and all the other crap. But it's not all fake money. And they don't have this money, so what they do is they have to constantly have these little expeditionary campaigns. And they have to go out to the Middle East and other places, Africa and all these other places. And they have to go and get the money. They have to completely sanction Russia. Why are we at war with Russia? Because the only reason why people keep on, having Russia as their enemies, because, to be frank, if Russia is allowed to compete, since Russia is more of a capitalistic country, if they're allowed to compete with the U.S. and the European Union, just like you saw with the oil, they're going to slash everything down. And Europe and America at this point in time is not ready for true capitalism. They're not ready for a free market. Especially not, Canada and these other countries. They're not ready for all this. And, you have the government trying to take away people's guns. That's the scariest part. Saying this school shooting, that shooting. You can make a bomb, and very easy to make a bomb. And it's just sad. You take away these people. You saw what happened in Waco. The FBI can definitely not be trusted. The CIA can't be trusted. I mean, look at JFK. You don't want to trust these government organizations and socialize everything, because then they'll start forcing you to do crap. And just as the coronavirus has shown us, they're forcing us to do crap. They're telling people close down, do this and that, and it only affects old people and chronically ill. It's not even a real pandemic. Someone dies of a heart attack and they had the coronavirus, they're going to count as coronavirus death. That's pathetic. That's just we're living in a scary world, and people need to understand that socialism is definitely not the answer. It's the opposite of that. In fact, it's actually private property is obviously the easiest thing to do. If you have your own business and you're not subsidized by the government, then you have more the responsibility of what happens in the world is placed on you. And the smaller the businesses, the less of a burden is on the economy if you decide to make bad decisions. So if we have these big businesses and these big government, then we're going to be screwing ourselves completely. And a lot of these people say, well, we're not socialist nationalists. We're not the same as Nazis. We're socialist globalists. Well, y'all are even worse, because what you're going to do is you're pretty much going to have one world government. Like, let's say if we have a one world government. If that one world government decides, hey, this such and such should be this and this, it's going to be that way for everyone. You're not going to have diversity of thought because they're going to have stuff written in stone. I mean, it's just common sense. I mean, 1984, George Orwell, you can look at Animal Farm. Anytime someone has power and they're trying to control things and they have, control so many lives, people are going to slack off. They're going to want to enjoy their pleasures, and they're going to want to take time off. I mean, look at freaking Jeff Epstein and his relation with so many people and the government and Hollywood and all these elitists. It's just disgusting. And let's talk about elitism for a second. Most of the elites are Hollywood Democrats. They're all big business Democrats, tech giant Democrats. All of them are, Jeff Bezos and all these people. They're all elitist, and the Democratic Party is behind that, And by socializing our people and giving people welfare and removing jobs, which is what they're trying to do. That's why a lot of those things are in-house, and they don't train people. They don't try to hire people. They don't go out of their way to get people, even though they need those jobs, because they're subsidized. And by encouraging socialism, you're going to have a bunch of people on welfare. You're going to have a lot of jobs that need to be done, like trucking, but you're not going to have anyone to do them because they're going to be all on welfare. You're going to have a very, very, very poor lower class. You're not going to have a middle class. You're going to have a very, very rich, elitist upper class, and they're going to control everything. You're going to have the 0.1% controlling everything. You do not want socialism. It's not about politics. It's not about, values. It's not about any of that crap. It's just about you're going to give a small amount of people, you're going to give, the government and these big corporations all the power. And you give them all the power, they will abuse it. Look at Google. Look at, the evidence is out there. So, in closing, Vauch is an idiot. Vegan Gains is an idiot. A lot of these people on YouTube are idiots. There are a lot of smart people too. But I mean, there's a lot of crap that's going on. I just wanted to get it off my chest and let everyone in the world know. I mean, I just had to get a rant off of me. I just was so steamed up. But anyways, that's all I have for now. I need to get some videos editing software, figure out how to make better quality videos. Hopefully I'll figure that out soon. But anyways, I don't care if no one watches this. I just wanted to get this off my chest.